right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I know we've got people on from all over the world. This is T. Gray. I want to welcome you to Conversations with Entrepreneurs. My name is Terrence Gray. Actually, I'm the Vice President of Operations for Ibüümerang, and I'm excited to welcome you to this show. It's a special show. It's a different show, and it's just about the stories, right? I mean, we've got a phenomenal company and an incredible opportunity, but we are not going to give you an opportunity presentation on this show. We certainly have a ton of those that you can plug into if you want the details about Ibüümerang. But what we're going to do here is we're going to introduce you to some people who've got a story, some people that you can relate to because there's something about them or what they used to do or even what they currently do that you can relate to, especially right now in this time of pandemic and quarantine, where people are stressed and so many people, their future is uncertain. We just wanted to be able to bring a ray of sunshine and light into your life by giving you some encouragement, by showing you some folks who took a chance on a better way and absolutely had success. So this show's a lot of fun, and every time we do the show, we have some great guests on, and today will be no different. Why? Because today we've got someone that's special to me on the call, on the show. Now, he's a guy that I just came to know and I just came to meet, but here's where the specialness comes from. He grew up where I grew up. New York City. That's right. New York is a special people. And we are absolutely excited to bring a New Yorker to you today. Now, he grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in the Bronx. We won't hold that against each other today. But I do want to bring my new brother, my New York City brother, on the line here, Gary Cohen. What's up, GC?
T Gray, what's going on? You got me calling you by your letters now. What's going on? How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm good, man. I'm absolutely good. And it's always great when us 3-4-7s can get together.
Right? 3-4-7s, the 7-1-8s.
7-1-8s, 2-1-2s, all of the above. So Gary, just so excited to have you on. We've got people on here with us from all over the place, and we got the word out that there was a major story alert that was going to happen today, as we're going to share your story with people. When we were talking a little bit earlier to get ready for the show, I got to tell you, what you shared with me was just incredibly encouraging, and I know that people are going to get a blessing today. So why don't we just cut down to it? Let's go ahead and get started here. Why don't you go back to the beginning and let's tell your story.
Back to the beginning. All right. So again, yeah, I'm a born and raised, Brooklynite. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. And when I was in Brooklyn, I was working for a utility company called Con Edison. And I remember, working for them at that time it was a lot, man. It helped pay the bills. I actually used to go into the basements and homes of people to help them to read the electric meters, to turn some people's lights off. People.
You were that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy. You didn't want to see me at 7 o'clock in the morning. Right. And it wasn't very fulfilling because sometimes cutting people's lights off, it was hard emotionally because naturally I didn't want to do it, but I had a job to do, so it wasn't very fulfilling. But they paid me enough to keep doing it. And I remember working for them at one point where I even got to if you're from New York, you understand there's a whole nother world living in the sewer, right? You got rats, you got roaches, all this stuff. And I used to have to go down in all these grimy basements and stuff just to do the job. But I was okay with it. I was settled with it. It was cool. It paid the bills. It was better than, working at Foot Locker at the time. So that's what happened. And I remember one day, it was the summer of 2012. Every single year, my family and I, we're a Caribbean family, we're Jamaican. We would do this 4th of July barbecue. We've been doing this for years, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And at this barbecue with family, friends, even some coworkers, we all got an alert and a text on our phone that, at certain hours we might get a call, and that call will determine whether we're going to go into work the next day or not. So we all are here having drinks, we're eating our jerk chicken, we're having some fun, and we all get this phone call saying, do not report into work until further notice, report to this location, which would be like our site where we do like a strike or something. We basically got locked out of our company on 4th of July. And at the time, it was cool. We took it as like a little break. You know, after working hard for about 5 years, and the company says, oh, well, you don't got to come to work. We thinking, well, we're an essential company. They need us to keep the lights on. So we'll be back to work in 3 days. So let's just take the time off. We couldn't get, we didn't get those vacation days. And that week turned into 3 weeks, turned into 6 weeks, turned into the whole damn summer. The whole summer passed.
Wow.
Us, you know, being laid off or locked out. And it was a big deal, man. It was all over the news. We would be in the middle of picketing for our job. And it basically happened because they were doing a lot of contract debates about pensions and stuff. So it got nasty and things were changing in the economy. And, you know, we became a victim of that. You know, we got laid off. And what became very rough for me to deal with at that time was the fact that I wasn't prepared at all for anything like that to happen. Even though we were on unemployment, it wasn't enough. You know, it was, back then you were probably, no matter how much you were making, you're bringing in maybe like $350 a week. I had so much more bills than I had income. I started to get depressed, man. I'm not even gonna lie. It got to a point where I was at home, about to start playing video games, and I don't even like video games like that, but you wanted to do something because if I went outside, I know I would spend money I don't have, and I'm a family guy, man. I love being around my family. And it just got to a point where I didn't even want to go out to visit, man, because I was like, I'm gonna go spend some money I don't have. I wasn't in a good spirit at that time. And I was really depressed because I watched my wife, you know, leave home and go out there and earn the money and be stressed out doing overtime to help pay the bills that I couldn't help out with. And it took a shot at my ego. I got so depressed. And I would say at that point, man, a blessing came my way. You know, a good friend I haven't heard from in a long time gave me a phone call, and I'm looking at the phone like, all right, Michael Jacks, what's up with Mike? I haven't spoken to him in probably years.
Hey, Gary, before you even get to that part where the story starts to turn around, that situation that you described and the feelings that it was giving you of depression and concern, it's very much like the way people are feeling right now, isn't it?
Right. It's probably exactly what people feeling. I mean, at that time, I wasn't stuck in the house, but I sure didn't want to go outside, you know? So it's like, you know, you're at home, you're on unemployment. Every single week, I feel like I'm begging for money. I'm willing to actually go out there and work for it. You know, I've never been on unemployment before because I'm a hard worker. I love to go out there and provide and get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm on unemployment. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to see outside. And you start to like literally just put these four walls around you to block off any emotions coming in and going out. You just become literally like a statue at home. And it was rough because I've never emotionally been in a place like that ever. You know the jokes, Jamaicans always have 3 or 4 jobs. Like I've had multiple jobs before, and I've decided to have this one career, and it shocked me, man. It hit me by surprise. And I don't think anybody would want to. I don't think, man, it was rough. I could see where some people are going through that now, and they don't know how to figure it out, and I can coincide with it. You know, I know what it feels like.
And it's crazy how, you know, that happens and people aren't prepared for it. You weren't prepared for it. You weren't prepared for your company to go on strike, and certainly most people were not prepared for, you know, really the business world to completely shut down for the last 60 plus days, right? But your story was starting to take a turn. You got this phone call.
Yeah, man. I know. I'm not sure what made the phone call come in. I call it a prayer and a blessing. I'm not sure if he saw the stuff that was happening on the news, because so many people knew what was happening because it was all over the news. And I'm wondering if that's why he called me. But I get a phone call. I'm on the couch, and a friend is like, "Man, I got something to show you. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure what you're gonna do with it. I'm just trying to help you out, and maybe this will help you out, put you in a different space." And I'm watching some information, and I can only understand half of it. Like, I've never seen stuff like this before, and I don't know anything about entrepreneurship. My parents just taught me, you know, if you learn how to work with your hands and go out there and work, you can always feed your family, you know? So that's what I knew. So as I'm watching I would say it's a presentation or a video at this time. It looks good, but I don't get it. You know, I'm not understanding what I'm watching. And even when he got on the phone, he's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know what to think. Like, I'm not sure what I just saw." But the relationship and trust that me and Mike had at the time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna follow your lead, bro. Like, I was praying for something. I've known him for years, and if it was good enough for him, it would be good enough for me. And I decided to follow his lead, and that was the invitation that saved my life.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Because about how old were you at this time?
28.
You're 28 years old, and at that point in time, you had never really heard of network marketing. Is that what happened?
Never heard of the term at all before. Never. I think I knew, now knowing some names, you hear the name of the company, but I didn't even know if there was real companies in network marketing. So I wouldn't even know. I was ignorant to the whole industry.
You know, I think that's really, really impressive too, because sometimes people like to say, oh, it's all saturated, right? And as recently as 2012, I think this is.
Right, yep.
You know, here are, you know, adult people, professional people who've never heard of it. And it's crazy, Gary, how many times on this show people have been professionals in their companies, in their industries, in their countries, and they never heard of network marketing until somebody introduced them to it. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like I said, I was totally ignorant to it. I never heard of the concept. I didn't know the possibilities. So that's why I guess when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, I don't know if it works. I doesn't know if it do. So I could only just come in and follow and follow the lead. And I was able to, you know, get started with a very honest perspective on the industry.
All right. So what happened? Were you an overnight success?
I wish, you know, of course not, man. It was like, you know, I saw something that can help me out, and naturally you say, oh, well, you know, this is going to be a blessing to everybody else. You know, I didn't know any better. I'm like, wow, nobody knows this exists because I didn't.
Right.
So I'm going out there sharing this with family and friends, and I'm going, and everybody's like, you know, shoot me down. Like whatever energy I had was being tiered and drained. But I would say my family, when I showed the concept to them, obviously they did it more of, my mom was like, you know, I'm gonna support my baby. You know, I'm gonna support my son. And my wife was like, he really wanna do this? I gave her that look like, you ain't got no choice. But it was one of those things where I was going out there and I was sharing this concept with people, and they were the one that brought me all the negative. Oh, it's a pyramid, and I never heard of stuff like that before. I'm like, what the hell is a pyramid? They were saying those things don't work for people like us, and I was getting it. And I would say one thing, like, being an introvert, because I'm an introvert, you know, most people, I thought like they had to have some sales skill or have a bunch of contacts. I'm literally like, I'm very introverted. I had no social media at the time. I think maybe Instagram was like new to me, and I had probably like 80 friends or something like that, 100 friends. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll just give it a shot. I'll give it a go. And what I was getting back was just a lot of fuel from hatred. You know, a lot of people were being dream stealers. A lot of people was telling me this won't work and you can't do it. And I have like the motivation of the underdog. You know, I mean, we in New York, so whether it's sports, everybody's trying to say, oh, I'm better than you. Whether it's business, everybody feel like they can do more than you. So I feel like that was just something that I shouldn't have changed the mindset on. When people doubt you, just prove them wrong. You know, so I went out there, and every single no I got, which I got probably 10 no's a day, every single one became fuel. Like, I just felt like I had to prove all these people wrong. So my list of people I had to prove wrong was a lot bigger than the list of people I wanted to show after a while.
Wow.
But I went out there and I built it every day. It was not easy. It was not overnight success at all.
So, okay, so it wasn't overnight success. You got a lot of rejection, crazy dream stealers and haters, like you said. So, what was your first 90 days like? Let's talk about that.
My first ever meeting, I think we signed up 3 people, and just that little bit of commission, whether it's $20 or $100, I was like, well, I'm about to be rich. Like, I didn't know how this thing worked. Like, it works. People like it. But In my first 60 to 90 days, I think I put in about 60 personal people myself. You know, I was just out there running and gunning, and I made no more than maybe $400 a month. You know, it wasn't nothing that was going to change my life at the time. I think just the whole idea of the concept was me thinking, oh, it's going to turn to riches eventually. But I just paid enough to maybe pay a phone bill, put some gas in the car, and that was it. Like, it wasn't not an overnight success.
You know, I think that's important. I think that's a really important part of your story, Gary, because people see you now and, you know, you are absolutely a rock star, right? You are crushing it. You're at the top. But, you know, a lot of times what happens is people will judge you by the current chapter of your book, but they don't know what happened in chapter 1. And I think it's really good for people to hear that you got in and that you struggled initially, and that, you know, after 90 days, you were only making about $400 a month. And that's a very human start, right? But what happened next?
So after putting in all this effort, I think I started to attract, I got somebody's attention. There's a young lady I went to high school with. She ended up reaching out, and we always kept in communication here and there. And she hit me up asking a lot of questions. And you know, I was trying to get her out, and she'd always turn me down. And it was just like she wanted the information, but I couldn't even get her to see it. And one day I was kind of called her, like, listen, if you want to see this thing, I thought you're gonna come see it or stop calling my phone. That's it. Like, I felt like I eventually had to put our friendship on the line. I know I didn't, but you know, I just had to get to the point. And she finally saw the information, and we joined forces. And I feel like she believed in more of the vision of where we were going than just the everyday hustle of trying to just get people signed up. She realized that we could take this thing forward. And that's when I really found out what teamwork was about, with you know, helping other people get what they want out of this. You know, I got to give it up to her. She's been together for 8 years. Her name is Tara Davis. But, you know, we went even harder. Like, when she got started, she showed me how, you know, hard workers really put in. And my focus started to shift a little bit. It wasn't necessarily just me making money anymore. It was me trying to create stories so that other people didn't feel like, oh, Gary was the special networker, or Gary was born for this, or was built for it. And I just wanted to create her. I want her to feel what I felt. And we worked for about a year. She even made a lot more than me in her first year than I did.
Wow.
And as things started to pick up, I think what we did was we built more of a fear of loss in this idea. People started to believe in our certainty. And it started from us going to a training event. You know, we went to one of these events, and I've never been in an event before. And the funny thing is, like, I really wasn't trying to go to a training event, but I was like, you know what, let's do this. You know, I got invited. I said, figure, if we're going to go out there and do business, let's learn the business that we're doing. And going out to our first event, man, it created so much clarity. Like, I felt like we were trying to hustle to pay our bills, but we really wasn't thinking like we could live like this until we went to our first event and saw people from all different backgrounds, different professions, people that we also looked up as, you know, that had the professions that we were working hard to build up to. Even they were loving it. We felt like, well, it's not just the little people like ourselves that's struggling out here. Like, people really want to live this life. And it created a clarity to it. When we went home, my mom couldn't tell me this was a kid's game anymore, because it was a bunch of kids at the time building it. We felt like, you know, the professionals weren't doing this because they were good financially. And that lifted the lid. So when we came back, man, we had certainty, we had belief. We were already running off faith and passion, but it brought confidence. It brought so much things that when we came back, the thing exploded.
Wow.
It created a fear of loss that people now was more afraid not to be a part of the vision and miss out on it than anything else.
Now, you were telling me something about, you know, this young lady that you partnered with. What was her circumstance when she got started?
She used her rent money to get involved. You know, I showed her the information around the holidays, and you know, everybody get caught up in buying Christmas gifts and stuff like that, as we all were. And I told her, you know, we can have Christmas once a year, every day next year. You know, what would you want to do? And she's used her rent money, got in. Even when we started to do her meetings, there's eviction notice on her door. And so I knew it was real. And I think also that was the fuel, but she wasn't in the best place either. You know, and that's what also made us work so hard, is because we understood that we all had a goal and we all had to get from being at the bottom.
So you said you guys worked really hard. What was that Can you describe that work? What was that like?
So we would do about 3 meetings a day. It would go on I would say from six or 5, 7, and 9, if you could do it like every 2 hours. And if we're not doing that, we're out there doing our personal one-on-ones. I'm driving around doing, showing people that I can bump into, because, I didn't have a lot of contacts. I started this thing doing 80 contacts in my phone. I didn't have a big, but I knew that I knew people. I just had to position myself to see them again. So I would always put myself in position to run into some people that I knew, and we would do meetings 3 times a day, every day. I would show 10 people a day. I knew I wasn't great at it, but I figured if I just did it more often and got more experience, then I'll be able to correct the mistakes along the line. So I just kind of looking to make mistakes so I can correct them as fast as possible.
Wow. And then, like you said, that event that you went to, it really juiced you guys up.
Yeah, it not only did it bring, again, clarity and confidence, but it became the strategy on top of the passion now. You understand? It became the how-tos with everything we already had, with the reason why we were doing it and everything, the ignorance on fire. It created some skill behind it. So now we knew, like, okay, now we know how to do this. We were already running on just passion. Now we know how to do it. And it definitely did speed up a lot, having a strategy and looking at it from a business mind and expert, getting those skills.
Man, I got to tell you, this story is mind-blowing to me, because, I've been in this industry for a long time, and you are hitting on all the reasons that people either fail or succeed. And, from, not making a big enough sacrifice, to not putting in the work, to not going to the events, and you did all those things. And if we fast forward in your story, obviously in the beginning you weren't successful. How long did it take for you to achieve what you really consider to be success?
I would think it was it took me about a year, I would say, just to even replace the income that I was making at my job at the time. I was chasing as what we call freedom. I was like, as long as I can make in case I get laid off again, as long as I can make enough to pay the bills, that was freedom to me. Right. But I started to have to pinch myself about almost 2 years in, within a year and a half to 2 year mark, because I had to pinch myself. It turned into, I was doing more a month in the industry, network marketing, than I was doing a year working at Con Edison, wow. And I really had to pinch myself at that point. It was literally around my birthday month. I think that was the biggest month I had in 2014, my birthday. And, a lot of people also ask, how are you able to do what you're able to do? Listen, it doesn't necessarily happen for everyone, but if you follow and apply what you learn and go to these events and do what you have to do, you apply those strategies, you'll get it done. It wasn't up on a company. They didn't promise me that. I just had to make the sacrifices, put in the work. And I use all the tools, the strategies, all the information. And with sacrifice, I was able to work the plan. So if people work the plan, then, they'll get what they want out of it.
Bro, that's phenomenal. And that's why we put the disclaimer up, right? We put that up because, in this show, we talk about people who've been able to become successful, and we don't want anybody to walk away thinking that, we're making guarantees or whatever. But I like the way, I forgot who said this on our daily inspiration show. They said the guarantee is you. It was Carlos Gutierrez from Mexico. He said the guarantee is you. And when I listened to your story, Gary, you were the guarantee. Mm-hmm. Because the only person who could guarantee that you would do the work and follow the system and do everything that was necessary was you, and you absolutely did it. And that was truly phenomenal. And that's what I love about your story. You literally went from first 90 days making, getting to about $400 to about 2 years into it, not just replacing your income, but literally earning what you used to earn in a year in a month. That's bananas, right? Okay, but I got to ask you this question. When you told me this story and you were describing how hard you work, like you just said, 10 presentations a day, 3 meetings, constantly on it. Even when you were still working your job, you get off work and you would do this. Gary, that's a lot of work, man. You were putting in the time. What would you say to somebody who says, man, that's a lot of work?
Well, I wish I could show them how to be a meter reader or something, because I mean, that wasn't easy work either. You know, I think most of us work our regular 9 to 5 jobs, and it's a lot of hard work, physically or mentally. You know, there's a lot of stress that also comes with what we don't really get out of from our job. So I just look at it like I've gotten to the point when I was working, going into basements, like I said, you know, with roaches, being around rats moving around me, caught fleas. You ever caught fleas, Tigray? You know what it feels like?
No, no, sir.
Caught them twice. You know, I caught fleas, waking up early, working in the cold weather of the city. If you know what it feels like to be out in New York in them negative degrees, being outside for 8 hours, all of that was hard work, physically, mentally, and doing a presentation couldn't even compare. I felt like that was a piece of cake compared to what I was doing at work. But even with that, if they're both hard work, what was more worth it? I worked that for 5 years, and it still kept me living paycheck to paycheck. And here I am doing something now, still putting in hard work like I know how, but then the results is different. So I feel like people, you're gonna work hard in whatever you do. It gotta be worth it, and then you gotta make that sacrifice. And so I was willing. I was hungry. My dreams and goal, I definitely could see be fulfilled with this industry, and I couldn't get there where it's from. So I just basically took the same effort that I would put in and shifted the energy to a different vehicle. And I went out there and did the work, but it's worth it. It was definitely worth it. But it's hard work no matter what we do. We just got to make sure we're doing it with something that's worth doing it for.
You know, again, mind blown again, because major reason why so many people fail is that they just simply don't put in the effort, right? Mm-hmm. They would work harder at that job than they would work in their own business. And because you were willing to work as hard in your business as you worked in your job, you eventually started making what you made at your job in a year, in a month. And I think anybody who's listening to this story would say, you know what, I'm down with that trade-off.
Right. I worked it like it was my job. My dreams became my job, and I worked it every day. So you just got to make the sacrifice and do what you need to do to get what you want.
Okay, so when this story started, you were depressed, you were broke, you were laid off, you were dealing with personal feelings of failure in terms of your ability to take care of your family. Fast forward to today, you're 36 years old, you're a young guy, you got a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and another one on the way. Yep. What is your life like now?
Oh man, it's still I would never expect it to be like this now compared to where we're coming from. But right now, like even now how things are when everybody's at home, my family's safe, you know, they're at home. I can afford to entertain them, fill their stomachs, entertain my kids or whatever, keep my wife safe with the little one in the oven. You know, life right now, I would want to say it's free, but it's happy. I think that's one big thing that a lot of people don't know what it feels like to completely be happy all around. To where before I used to be the one missing out on family vacations. You know, I used to be the one working on the holidays, missing Sunday dinners. If you're from a Caribbean family, you know how important Sunday dinner is. Yep. To be there to pray up with your family. And I didn't want to do that before. I was avoiding that stuff. But now when it's time, it's like, all right, well, I get to keep the family safe. I'm the one now saying, let's have the Sunday dinners. I'm the one now saying, let's go out there and go on a vacation together and being able to afford that. You know, you understand? It's like before, we would plan like everybody, plan the family trips. You start with 20, you end up with 3 when it's all said and done. But now, thank God I'm able to throw it all together, not worrying if anybody can afford it. So I become more of the beacon of energy now, you know, for the family. So I'm happy with my family that I've been able to start. And even one thing I didn't share before when we were talking, me and the wife, we were trying to have kids way before, you know, the industry, and we couldn't. She was too stressed out at her job to even have. And, you know, the moment we started in the industry, now they just keep popping out. I don't know what I'm doing.
You may have just unsold some people on network marketing.
Right. I was like, but I know that, you know, it had a difference because, man, stresses take a toll on people. We're just happy, man. We're just a happy people, happy family. I keep my kids and my family happy. I take care of my parents now. So we're in a completely different place before.
Man, you know, and we shouldn't really glaze past that, because I mean, you're right. The work environment is so stressful. I mean, I personally worked for companies for 17 years before discovering network marketing, and it was incredibly stressful. So I know what you're talking about. And, you know, that's kind of the first time that anybody has brought that up. But how many people do you think, how many couples do you think are so stressed out that they're not able to start their family? You know?
I think that's happening a lot to where people don't even consider it because we're so used to being in stressful environments, we don't even know when we're stressed. But even right now in this pandemic, people are at home with their partners. And for 8 years, you know, as I was living with my wife, and we weren't married at the time, we didn't really know each other because she went to work, I went to work. You know, so we just basically lived in the same house, but passed each other's roommates. And thanks to network marketing, I'm really able to know who I'm with. You know, now we don't just talk about bills, we talk about things that we like. But so many people are on a routine in a relationship where the only thing they have in common is bills and struggles. So that's why they're together. They found somebody to vent with. They call that maybe a death buddy or something like that. But now I can say, I know my wife, I get to enjoy her. I know what makes her happy because I get to focus on those things rather than the bills and all the other things that come with the stress of life and working, you know? So it definitely does make our relationship more enjoyable on top of making it stronger.
Wow. So not only do you have the opportunity to get your freedom, make great income, but with that also comes, you know, improvements in your family life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My mom is my best friend. My kids now I get to focus on. I got two energetic boys. I get to focus on sport activity with them. I don't get tied up in handing them over to a babysitter or anything like that. When we want to go places, we're gonna go, and we're gonna go as long as we can go for it. You know, sometimes the school gets mad with us because we're taking too much trips, but because my kids are absent. But I'd rather that being a problem than just trying to just exist in their life and be a part of it.
Man, that is so absolutely phenomenal. Check this out, Gary. There's people watching this that are in a similar situation that you were in back in 2012. This pandemic has put so many people in that situation, and where it's caught them and they weren't prepared. Like you weren't prepared for your company to go on strike.
Right.
People weren't prepared for what just happened in this world over the last 60, 90 days. You did something to prepare yourself for the next time. So many people are afraid to take their first step. What advice do you have for them?
It's I always felt like it's either I take risk or I'm going to be at risk. You understand? For me, it was a wake up call. It was somebody saying, let's stop Gary in his tracks to make him aware. So sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you should be maybe the best thing that happened to you if you see that, if you look at it and take those risks. Because I feel like, I had a lot of fears, an introvert, doing marketing and all this other stuff. But I also told myself this, I'm never going to be on unemployment again. I'm never going to go and want to relive what it feels like to be stuck in a house on unemployment, out of control of income, not being happy and want to be around my family. And I made the decision then that the person who I am is not going to stop me from the person I'm destined to be. And I made the decision differently. I positioned myself differently to now it is completely different. I am on the other side of this coin or this crisis. But I know if I didn't make that decision then, it would never even worked out. I'll probably right now be in the exact same situation as I was in 2012. So I'll tell you this, you got to bet on you. You got to take a shot at you because nobody else is going to bet on you. It's your life. You are in control. And I feel like we so focus on playing victim and blaming other people. We want to remain that way because we don't want to look in the mirror and point the finger at us. And I got tired of blaming somebody else for how my life ended up, So I would tell a person like this, your weakness can be your biggest strengths. You got to go out there and take your life in your control and take as many risks as you possibly can because you don't know when your last moment is going to be. I looked at 28 and said, yeah, I got a lot of lessons to learn because here's a big industry that I've never heard of. Let me learn through experience. Let my L's be my lessons, and not my loss. And I took a shot on me. I'm always willing to bet on me because I know what I'm capable of, but I can't expect other people to bet on me. And I took a shot. So just take a shot. Whether you're always going to be a winner in your own life. when you take shots on yourself. When you bet on yourself, you're always going to win.
Dude, you got the chats lit up. I think you just gave people some quotes to put on their social media. I think you're going to see You Got to Bet on You. And I definitely think you're going to see take that risk, or you're going to be that risk. That is definitely going to be some quotes for the day. Hey, Gary, we really appreciate you, man. You have such incredible wisdom, and you're a huge inspiration. I mean, I love the fact that you learned a lesson at 28 that puts you in an incredible position by 36 to be an incredible dad, an awesome husband, a family leader, and an inspiration in your community. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Appreciate you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you, T. Greg. Appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And for everybody who's watching, Gary, obviously Gary is doing some incredible things. And if you want to know exactly what Gary is doing to not only maintain the freedom that he's developed for his family, but to take it to even a whole nother level, we want to invite you to join us for the details about our company, Ibüümerang. Tonight at 8 p.m. Central, that's an hour and a half from now, we have an English presentation. 2.5 hours from now at 9 p.m. Central, we have a Spanish presentation. You can join us on Zoom. You can join us on Facebook Live. Just take a screenshot of what's up right now, and you'll be able to learn exactly what it is that is such a blessing to the Cohen family. You'll be able to learn exactly what Gary is doing and what he did, so that what happened to him in 2012 will never happen to him again. And you need to do the same thing so that what's happening now will never happen to you again. So we invite you to be a part of that, and to join us, and to hear what we're talking about, so that you can start building your own freedom and your own success as well. Hey folks, this has been another episode of Conversations with Entrepreneurs. What a conversation we had today. We invite you back to check out the next episode. You can see previous episodes at facebook.com/Ibüümerang. Click on the video section and you can see all the different conversations. And once again, we want to thank Gary Cohen, Diamond with Ibüümerang, for joining us today. God bless you guys. Be safe, and welcome to the family.